Guru Nation, welcome back to another episode, as well as on the podcast, Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. This is Dan Sfera. I've got Shaniqua Wilson, all right, all the way from Virginia/North Carolina. You're right on the border, all right, so you go both places, kind of like me with California, Arizona, back and forth all the time. How's it going, Shaniqua?
It's great. It's great. I actually sing Carolina Girl when it comes on because I'm so close.
Yeah, you're right there. And we're gonna talk about your location and the opportunities that you have. But let me give people some background. So Shaniqua was in the CRA Academy. You guys just graduated. Are you gonna be on that call tomorrow? I'm doing an internship call. I don't think you need it, but you can be on if you want.
I can't remember the time, but I just got my certificate, I think Monday.
Yeah.
So
Did
I
they put the new
just
logo on
graduated.
it? Make sure they put the new logo on it. I'm gonna be upset if they put the old logo on it. I'll have to take a
I'll
look
have
at
to
it.
check. I'm not positive. I'll have to
Yeah,
check.
it better be the new logo. But anyways, Shaniqua just graduated, and I want to say like several weeks ago, like 4 weeks ago, she got hired.
Yep.
And
Mid-November.
mid-November, so it always happens, guys. Every single class, we have an average of 15 students. This class was like double because the pandemic, everyone's stuck at home. So I don't know how we got that many people in. I was supposed to cut it off at 15, and then between me and Chris taking calls, things were so big, everybody just got in. So but there's always, in those 15 on average, there's always like 2 or 3 students that get hired before the class is even over, and Shaniqua is one of them. And yes, 2020
Yes.
is a very busy year for research. Shaniqua is going to talk about her experiences, what that was like to apply, and all that stuff. But Shaniqua, how is it going at your new job as a clinical trial coordinator?
It's going really well. It's very overwhelming. I had reached out to you to tell you about the information I would not understand. I'm going through training and I'm remote right now, so I'm home alone. And I do have a work buddy, but of course, she has other stuff to do. So I'm going through training on the computer. I would not understand any of the language if I did not go through CRA Academy.
Yeah, it's tough, right? And let's give people an idea. So when because these job titles are so confusing. Even I'm confused. Like when we were talking off air, I was not sure what position you had because I don't even listen to people's positions because like clinical trial coordinator at a CRO, which you work for, it means
Mhm.
something completely different than clinical research coordinator, like at a site that I'm used to dealing with. But people just watching or listening, they're going to think it's the same thing. So explain for your organization, which is a CRO, what clinical trial coordinator actually means, like as much as you know.
Okay, so I just learned that this position changed about 6 months ago. It used to be a project assistant. So it really gathers all of the information and puts it into files so that um, when we basically get audit ready, we get for the sponsor, we get it audit ready. So looks like we're gathering like 1572s. We're gathering temperatures um,
The IP, the drug.
IP of the drug.
Yeah.
We're doing it's just medical licenses. Um,
So mostly
I can't
regulatory
remember.
stuff, mostly like
Yes.
regulatory. It sounds similar to what an in-house CRA would do. And like I tell people outside or who watch and listen, job titles don't really tell you much. You need to see the job description because clinical
Yeah.
trial coordinator, where Shaniqua works, might be in-house CRA where somebody else works, which might be called something completely different, clinical research assistant where somebody
Mhm.
else works. It's just the titles are very confusing, but essentially it's regulatory, IP, managing the files, the trial master file. Nothing really. It sounds like nothing to do with source documentations. From the sites, mostly regulatory is what it sounds like.
Yes. From what I understand, it's all regulatory, and we have a remote site monitor and a CRA on the team also.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
so we're all gathering that information.
I just interviewed a
And
former student that got a remote site monitor job.
yeah, I just learned about the remote site monitor at the CRO that I'm at. You could not get it without a life sciences degree. As of Monday, they changed it. You have to have 2 years experience. So
Oh,
I
wow.
kind of wanted to hold out for a remote site monitor, but I'm glad I didn't because they would have thrown my application out.
Well, that, of course, that, but I was gonna say just take the first job you get in research when you're just trying to get your
Yeah.
foot in the door. And I know your story a little bit of the background, but Guru Nation will learn a little bit more about your story. But you've been trying to get your foot in the door for a long time, and you saw firsthand how difficult it was. So give us a little bit of your background, maybe for those watching, because right now there's someone in your situation where you were a year ago that's thinking, hey, I really want to do research, but I don't know anything about where to get started and all that stuff.
So I actually have worked the same position. I was in government, local government, and I was administrative assistant, local government for a director here, and I did that for almost 23 years. So very loyal, but
Hmm.
when you decide to change over and just completely change your career, don't work too don't work in your favor too much. But I mean, hey, got a lot of transferable skills that I pulled along, and so I was there for about 23 years, and I decided about a year ago. I can't remember how clinical came up. I started with project management. That's what I thought I was going to do. I'm like, oh, project manager. I went and got certified. I have
Oh,
my
you are?
CAPM
I
and
didn't know that.
project management for PMI. Mhm. So I started there, and if I remember correctly, it was between a dermatologist and also for my son's eczema, and also a project manager that was actually getting certified when I got certified, that kind of opened up that door. And also, I had a friend, and he's like, that's what he led me into project management. And then I started digging deeper into project management and found these clinical people, and I'm like, hey, it looks like I want to go that way. But I didn't know how to get in. I looked at all of the sites. I applied for jobs way before I should have applied for anything. The first job I applied for was a project manager.
Wow. For a
But
CRO.
I didn't, yeah, for a CRO.
Hmm.
I applied for project manager, but I had no idea that
By the way,
it
I think
didn't
those
that way.
guys you're probably going to work with with them in your job, but I've worked as a contractor, I've worked with a project manager, sometimes for big CROs, small CROs. That's the hardest position, in my opinion, in research, because you don't
Mm-hmm,
travel much, but whenever there's a
mm-hmm,
problem, somebody's calling you. Basically, the sites can call you, the CRAs can call you, the sponsor call. Everybody calls you, the project manager, and you have to have an answer for everything. On top of that, you got to integrate everything with the budgets. I don't know how they did it. Like the project manager I worked with, it seemed like he was emailing from morning till night, and it was just
mm-hmm.
he was putting out problems. So that's just a side note, but project management is tough. But hats off to those
No, I
people.
heard that. Yeah, I heard that too, Dan, because I was on a Zoom with Black women in clinical research, and they
Oh,
had
Danielle, we love Danielle. I
Mhm,
should have worn my
Danielle.
shirt for this. I forgot. I
Yes,
forgot about that.
yes. I'll talk a little bit about that, about
Okay.
Black women in clinical research too. But there was a call, a Zoom, and they were talking about they spend so much time in meetings, and I was like, I don't think that's the direction. And I still probably, I'm not positive, but I don't think project management is still on my radar. I don't think so.
It's tough. It's tough.
Mhm.
So, what were your experiences like? So, you applied for project management. Did you apply for anything else, or was it just that?
I was applying for all the project management positions before I was introduced to you. Before I found you, I was applying for all project management because I thought my little certification from PMI was going to do it, and my 4 year degree,
That's helpful, though.
not. It does, it helps, but that's not because sometimes a job description does not list that you need that much experience, or it's not giving you everything you need, because people within clinical research know that you don't start at project management. So,
Right.
and they were just throwing my application out each time. Even lately, applied at I'm not gonna say which one, but I applied
Yeah.
for a project management institute. No, it was an academy, project management academy is what it was. And it says basically to bring you in as like a project coordinator, and they'll bridge you to project management. I applied, let's say on a Tuesday. Wednesday at like 4:30 in the morning, my application was thrown out.
Wow.
So, so it's still a no,
Okay.
still a no. Yeah.
So, what made you think, well, let's just look for any position in clinical research and see what happens? Because that seems to be a strategy that works better, because we never really know where these paths will take us. But the hardest part is just to
Mm-hmm.
get in. Once you're in, then it's like you get your blinders off. You can kind of see around you, like, okay, I can go this way or there. But when you're on the outside, you don't see anything. You just think you know what you want, like you know project management. You didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize there was all this other stuff, all these other opportunities out there. So when did you make that change, like in your mind?
Once I got more information, so let me just start. So you put out, I started following you. I'm not sure. Like I looked at all of the YouTube videos. I started researching clinical research, and I happened upon your YouTube channel, your Instagram, your
Yes.
LinkedIn. So I was like, okay. So I started following everything you had. I started researching more into clinical research. And one day you posted, "Hey, I'm giving away a free scholarship." And I think I saw it maybe at 9:30 at night, and the cutoff was like 12:30 or 12 o'clock, 12 midnight.
Mhm.
Um,
I
so,
remember. I remember.
yep. So I jumped on real quick and started telling my story. And that's when it really took off. That's when it started making sense. Like that day that I was accepted, that you gave me the scholarship, I started like a day later.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so all of that information, I started seeing that information, and that's when it started making sense. And I started seeing, oh, okay, this is not the way. You don't start at project management. You start somewhere else.
You
Like, yeah,
can, but
you.
it's very rare. It's very rare. You have to like know somebody in who can like pull a favor and get you in. It's not traditional route to go like project management or senior CRA. Did you see the podcast I did with that senior CRA that lied because she knew somebody who worked in
Yes,
there?
yes, yes, yes.
Unreal.
It was.
I bet you
Yes.
that was like 2 weeks ago. I bet you she's not there anymore. Well, maybe it's holiday.
Well,
You can like slide by for like 2 more weeks.
I mean, I could understand. I could see that, because I don't even like, once I started getting the information for this position, and it's an entry level position. And once I started receiving the information, if I had not gone to the academy, I
Mhm,
would know.
mhm.
When I mean, I mean, I did Belmont report. I would 1572. I wouldn't know any of this stuff. I mean, I have some people that are in orientation or onboarding with me, and they have no clue. They've never heard these words before. They just kind of apply for a job, and they are like a training that took, I think it took me about 4 hours, took them a whole day, because they didn't know the acronyms,
So
and they don't
compared to
know.
them, you're like an expert, like advanced.
Right.
And I
Exactly.
saw you
Right.
pass the class. You just graduated. I saw you passed with like really good score.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it's a lot to learn. It's really a lot of information to master, and you're not gonna master it all. You just know enough to have a working knowledge, so that when you get
Exactly.
started on training, which you're experiencing now, I mean, you're telling me off the air, it's a lot of stuff that you guys are learning right now, right?
Mhm. Yes, yes, a lot of stuff, but at least I know the basis, and I know kind of what they're talking about. I mean, I get a little lost too. I don't know, some of the terms, and I go have to go look it up or
Mm.
whatever. But if I didn't have any foundation, no basis, I would know absolutely nothing. But you asked me a question about how did I start applying, and The first thing is I applied for I got into the academy. And while I was in the academy, okay, two things happened. First, when I first got into the academy, Danielle from Black Women in Clinical Research reached out to me, and I joined that group. And in the midst of this too, I saw I saw a video you did with Ashley Margot.
Oh,
So,
I love both of
so
those people. I don't know Danielle as well as Ashley, but I
mhm,
talk to Danielle every now and then. She's an amazing person. And then
yes,
Ashley is like a savant when it comes
hmm
to algorithms and making your resume for the algorithm. So she worked with you? I didn't even realize this. Ashley
yes,
worked with you?
yes, yes. So I reached out to Ashley, and she said she was like, "Oh, you have a really great resume, but let's do this." So we changed a few things, and she helped me get my LinkedIn up to par. So connections started,
Mm-hmm.
and where I was leaning on Black women in clinical research is kind of like my support group. Like there are so many women there that are already in the field, already have knowledge. I can just jump over there, ask a question. I actually got a mentor that actually I leached onto.
Okay.
I kind of adopted her
You
as
made
my
her your
mentor.
mentor.
Yes, I made her my mentor. So I so all of this stuff is happening. It's like a compound effect. All of this is happening at the exact same time.
Mm-hmm.
I am getting a lot of knowledge on this side from the CRA Academy, and I'm getting a lot of support over here from Black Women in Clinical Research. So I mean, both of those things were pushing me, and I kind of like laser focused. Like I didn't do anything. I told you I was only reading. I was only looking at podcasts. I was only looking at YouTube about clinical research. I focused
Wow.
um, for that
Hyper
amount of time.
focused.
Yes,
How long did this whole process take from CRA Academy started? Your class started in August, right?
August, August
So
and November. I think I was offered November 16th was the offer in my position.
wow, okay, so August, September, October, November, so like 3 to 4 months of just hyper focused. Where you still had your current job, right? Or your previous job at that
Yes.
time.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You were
I was
maintaining
still
that.
working. Yes. I
Gotcha.
was still working. I was still going to the academy, and I was just focused. And um, I just every time I applied for a job, I changed my resume and my cover letter. So
Every time.
I would
Okay.
I would customize unless it was something pretty. If it was something like if it was a CTC position in two different companies, but I made sure I put the name of the company in my cover letter each time. Which I talked to a hiring manager within Black Women in Clinical Research, and she kind of said, doesn't matter. It depends on who the hiring manager is because we don't want to read all of that stuff. So, um, and I'm a shout out to the to the lady in Black Women in Clinical Research because she reviewed my resume a couple months after Ashley had reviewed and made changes, and she said it was really good. And the main thing I got from Emily there is she gave me confidence. Like she was just like, okay, you have all the information here. All of this looks good on paper. You have to sell yourself when someone calls you. So it's up to you. It's not you're going to get in with this paper. The paper looks good. You're going to get through
Mm.
the door. But you have to sell yourself. So I had to start on interview questions, looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, this interview, this is something very different. I'm okay talking one on one, and I had to pretend like that's what we were doing and not think about that this is being recorded. But when I would set myself up to know it was an interview, I would get really nervous. And I had a really good interview no, I didn't have a good interview. I had a really good, well, not an offer, but a recruiter interview
Okay.
for a great CRO, for a great position, but I fumbled all over it.
I
I
remember you
dropped the ball
telling
on
me
that one.
this. Yeah.
Yep. I
It's important to
dropped the
talk
ball on
about the
that one.
failures because I'm glad you brought that up because people watching maybe get the false impression that it was easy for you. Like you joined CRA Academy and then like magic happened and you just
Yeah.
started getting offers. So you went through like failures and you messed up a
Oh yeah.
bunch of times. And so, like, yeah, talk to us about how did you drop the ball on that one? Like, what happened specifically that you feel like, or maybe they told you that you messed up, or how did that happen?
She didn't really tell me, but I knew it after I hung up. I was almost desperate and begging.
Ah, okay, okay.
It was kind of like, oh, sorry, did I lose you? I'm sorry.
Oh, there we
It was
go.
kind of like I was begging, and I wanted the position so bad. Um, and she could feel the desperation,
Okay.
and I feel like that's the worst. Like it was no confidence; it was all desperation.
Mm.
It was like, please, please, oh my God, this is what I want almost. But I didn't say those words, but my
Yeah.
voice was like, it's like, what do you, what? Oh, I'll do that. Whatever it is, I'll do it. I'll do it. You know, and
And
it
it's
was
not
kind of,
necessarily a bad thing, but I get what you're saying. Like they want to see that you like what your strengths are.
mm-hmm.
Uh I understand what you're saying. So how many interviews did it take for you to actually get this particular job that you have right now?
I think I went through maybe four, no, maybe I had three at top CROs before I got the fourth one.
Okay. And was each
Um,
one better? Like you did better and better each
yes,
time?
yes.
Okay, so see, sometimes just putting yourself out there and doing it. I always tell the students too, and sometimes they go through like they don't all get hired like you, Shaniko, right? Like before you
Mm-hmm.
even finish the class. Some of them even 6 months after the class, they're still not getting hired. And what it boils down to is it's a numbers game. They're not getting enough interviews for whatever
Mm-hmm.
reason. And
Mm-hmm.
then, so you need to go through like at least one. Like you said, you dropped the ball on the first one, the second one, so you
Yes.
started getting better and better. By the time the fourth one, who did end up hiring you, I mean, you came off
Mm-hmm.
probably super confident, like you knew exactly what you were doing, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps. Go in with the expectations on your first couple of interviews that you're not going to do it. It's just for
Yep.
practice. That should be the
And that's exactly. I started making note cards because I found it was a pattern with all of them, like the questions, what the recruiter would do, what the next step would be. So I just kind of figured out what the pattern was. Start writing information. That first, why should we hire you? Who are you? All of those questions, all of those behavioral interview questions. I got that down pretty good.
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes I would I'd stumble a little bit and I'd say, okay, bring it back together, come back down, just kind of calm down. And most, except for maybe one, everybody was really nice. They were really, really nice. They just knew that they couldn't hire. They couldn't, they couldn't put their neck out there because they're not positive that I could do it.
Yeah.
But they were really nice to me.
Wow. So how so the company that did hire you was it several interviews or just one?
It was a recruiter interview that lasted about 30 minutes. The recruiter went through some basic questions, just just my background,
Mhm.
what type of work have you done in the past. Then she did one behavioral question, and she gave me feedback on that one behavioral question. And she says, "I'm gonna pass you through to the managers, and you should get a call back." I got a call back, possibly, or email. I got an email maybe later that day or the next day. The manager set up an interview, and we had the interview like maybe 2 days later or a day later or something, and that was 2 hours. That was 2 solid hours.
2 hours. So what are
Two
they
solid,
possibly asking you in 2 hours?
all all behavioral questions for two
Uh-huh.
hours, and they were like some questions would be um, they just they just reworded and asked you again. Um,
Wow.
but they were all behavioral questions
So did
for
it
two
feel like
hours.
I've never actually been in one of these interviews. Um, did it feel like those cop movies where they're like interrogating you? Like was it like that many questions?
It was that many questions, but because of the two people that were interviewing me, it wasn't as bad.
Okay.
Even during the interview, I just couldn't think anymore. And I was like, can you hold on 1 second? I have to go to the restroom. Like, I just had to ask. Like,
Yeah.
that interview, I feel like I was more myself. Like
Okay.
I had basically had a conversation. They'd ask me stuff like, name a time that you didn't complete a task. What did you do? I just had to stop and think. Like, I mean, all of this
Hmm.
stuff has always happened. I've been working for 23 years. So, of course, this has happened. I just
Yeah.
had to I had to think about it. But also, before that interview, I would set up scenarios. So I'd go through and think about stuff that happened, times that I didn't finish something, times when I fell out with a coworker, times, just all sorts of, I had like scenarios written down
Hmm.
so that my brain could like look at my sticky pad or I had a note card and I would look down and it'd cue me so
Yeah.
that, because a lot of them would go for the same question.
How did you answer that? Like, what's your biggest weakness? Did they ask you that?
Yes, they did ask me that one. And that was at work. Okay, I've been there 23 years, so I'm always the senior person in the administrative office. And that intimidates a lot of people that come in. And so when we go to meet and have our huddles, if we had something to discuss, I was like first. I was like, this is what I think we should do, blah, blah, blah. And one of the actually a girl I trained from to replace me at my position, she told me that they don't ever give ideas because they feel like, okay, since I'm the senior person, I know what's happening. They just go with it. And basically they do have ideas, but I don't ever hear them because, I'm the first one to speak and I take over. So that's pretty much my weakness at work.
That's a good
Well,
weakness.
for that position,
Your
it was
biggest
weak.
weakness is that you're a boss.
Um, yeah, but I was missing out on a lot of stuff because
Hmm.
it took a lot of balls for her to come and tell me that also. So that's why I knew she should replace me also.
Ah,
So
see.
basically she was like, basically, can you pipe it down a little bit,
Yeah,
So I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay,
That's a
yeah.
good. That's actually not
So that
bad.
was,
So basically, the reality when you get asked this question, you should just tell them the truth because everybody has weaknesses. So just like stop trying to
mhm,
find something, like Shaniqua just told a real story, and that's her weakness. And to me, listening,
mhm,
her biggest weakness
mhm.
is that people respect her. That's a great weakness,
Well, I
Shaniqua.
mean, you see it that way. But I mean, of course, I didn't want to go and say, "Hey, yeah, my biggest weakness," which I don't have this weakness, but I wouldn't say, "Yeah, I'm really unorganized."
Hmm.
I mean, who would hire me if I said, "Yeah, I'm really unorganized and I don't know the difference between my Outlook and my calendar that's on my desk and it's just all over the
Yeah,
place and I'm late to my meetings." No,
yeah. I hear
I
you. Those
mean,
are tough to answer. I know I'm a
yeah.
contract CRA and I get asked that. I still don't know how to answer it. I just say something like I'm too nice. And sometimes the coordinator, like in a CRA setting, the coordinators don't do what I ask because I'm too nice. So that's like the best answer
Yeah,
I could give, but everybody has
yeah,
their own. We can't
yep.
give you an answer to give.
Yes. And if you think through it and like not try to stage it, like don't don't listen to someone else's answer because you come off fake.
Yeah,
You
you
hear
do.
the phoniness. So it's like just just try to figure it out for yourself. That's
Yeah,
the biggest
yeah.
problem I see with people. No one wants to figure it out. Like they want someone to do it for them.
Yeah.
And even with getting the clinical position, ran into a lot of people that they want you to do it for them. Like, oh, how did you do blah blah blah? And I'll say it. Okay, well, can I send this to you? And you no, you
Hmm.
have to do it yourself. And I think I learned a lot because I did a lot of stuff myself. I mean, I of course I had the academy. I had Black women in clinical research, so I had two support groups, but I still had to do
That's
my
a
stuff myself.
powerful combo. I recommend
Hmm.
everybody join Black Women in Clinical Research. And we just start Mrs. Co inspired us to do Latinos in clinical research, and we just
Yes.
started that. And we welcome anybody. Just join if you want to network. Black women in research. Now they have a Black men in research too. So
Hmm.
Danielle's been doing really good things there. Last question: did they ask you like where you want to be in 5 years? Type of question.
Yes. In my interview, they did ask that question, and I told him ultimately CRA because that's really all I kind of know at the moment. And I still think that's where I ultimately want to be at this moment. But I told them that I feel like I need to get in, learn my position, figure out what they want from me in that position, possibly help to mentor people once I learn what they expect of me to help
Hmm.
others come in, and to eventually like maybe go senior in that position and work my way to a CRA.
And they and what was their response to this answer? Did they say anything?
Uh, Actually, the one manager told me exactly how to do it, and
Oh, okay.
she's actually my line manager.
Oh, great.
Mhm.
Very
So
good.
she was telling me that that there's ways, and she knows the ways to get there. Didn't quite like the timeline, but hey, I mean, we'll see.
They said 5 years or 10 years,
Yes.
maybe.
Well, she said possibly. She said she thinks that CRA is reachable in about 4 to 5 years.
Tell her.
Kind of.
Well, you don't need to tell her anything, but
Yeah.
you could cut that in half. You could divide that
Yeah.
in two, and I think that's the real answer. If you're ambitious enough, as you've proven to be, because you get hired before you even finish the CRA Academy, which is rare.
Yes.
You're already in rare air amongst our graduates. So thank you very much, Shaniqua. I appreciate it. And thank you to
Thank
Black
you.
Women in Research also for the support. I mean, big
Hmm.
shout out to you guys and Danielle Coe especially. Got to interview
Yes.
her again. Like in a few months, I want to do another interview because we could have gone on forever with that interview
Yes. And
that we
she's
did.
constantly evolving, and she has so many ideas and so much like the passion. Her
Yeah,
passion keeps her up all night. Her passion
she's an
is
inspiration, and
real.
that just goes to show
Hmm.
you inspiration and innovation can come from people. I mean, she doesn't have a lot of experience, and you don't
Hmm.
need. She's an
But
example. You don't need to be a seasoned research, like a veteran, to start a movement. Like you just need to be passionate about it.
one more thing I'll mention. I remember you talked to me about ways to get into research because we were throwing things around because I didn't have any experience,
Yep.
and exactly what Danielle's doing. You didn't know anything about Danielle because I once I brought it to you, it's like who's this person? Tell me more. Like where
You
is she?
introduced me to Danielle. Thank you,
Yeah,
Shanika.
yeah.
I was trying to think during this interview, how did I know?
Mhm.
I just like remember I interviewed her, but yeah, thank you very much. You told me. I remember that phone call. I said, "Who is this
Yep.
person that added you?" You said somebody added
Hmm.
you to a group, what group? And then I started following Black
Hmm.
women. So okay, so it was Danielle. You introduced me. Thank you very much for that.
Yes, and I just remember you telling me this great idea, and I was like, "Hey, the idea actually exists." And you're like, "Where? Who?
I
What do you
remember.
mean? Send
I
me her
remember
name.
the
Who is
idea.
it?"
I said, you got to
Hmm.
go out there, put yourself out there. Don't wait for
Yeah.
somebody else. You start your own thing. You start recruiting patients, this and that, all this stuff, whatever
Yep.
it is you want to do. And Danielle's doing
Yep.
exactly that. That's
Yes.
amazing. So, anybody, by the way, anybody watching, like Shaniqua, maybe a year ago, Shaniqua, this is like future Shaniqua.
Yes.
You don't need to wait for anybody. It's you just go
Hmm.
out there and do it. LinkedIn, get on Black women in research, get on Latinos in clinical research, get on whatever you want to do. Just
Hmm.
network. I'll put links to Shaniqua's LinkedIn if you want people to reach out. You don't
Yes.
have to.
Yes. Please do
Okay.
ask me anything.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
LinkedIn profile underneath the video and the show notes. Anything else you want to say to Guru Nation?
The only thing I think we kind of covered is I know some will say they're not sure about the investment into the academy. My advice is if you have absolutely no experience, um, definitely it's a great investment. You need to get into the academy. It will give you a great foundation, and people will tell you not to pay. And it's not that I paid to get in clinical research, I paid for an educational foundation now that I see. Now, if you're in clinical research, maybe that's a little different. I think everybody's path is different. And my path, I needed the CRA Academy. So
Thank you for that.
if you're thinking about it and you have no experience, reach out to me. I'll tell you, whatever I know. But I think it was definitely the route for me. And if you don't have any experience, I think it would be a great route for you also.
Thank you very much. We will definitely do that. She'll tell you the truth. Shaniqua will tell you the truth. And she didn't even do
Hmm.
the internship part. She doesn't need it. You already got, you already got hired. If you want to, you're still welcome to do it, by the way. So tomorrow we're doing the onboarding call for all the interns. But thank you so much, Shaniqua. Best of luck. You
Thank
probably
you,
don't need
Dan.
more work. I doubt you need more work. So don't worry about the internship, but it's always open to you if you want it in the future. Um, Big props to you guys, Black women in research, and just keep doing your thing. We'll do a, follow up interview like in a year, see how things are going.
Yes.
This
Yes.
industry is
I
very
would love
interesting.
that.
Thank you very
Yes.
much,
Thank
and
you, Dan.
thank you guys for watching and listening. And everybody, go add Shaniqua. Catch you later. Bye bye.
Yes. Yes. Bye.